morning, and it's good to have you join us again on another interesting episode of Good Morning Africa. And as always, we are here in the studio to bring you the information or to tell you of what is happening in Nigeria and around the world today. My name is Mimi Tondo.
And my name is Dorcas Chia, and it is always a pleasure to break the day with you here on Good Morning Africa.
I'm Chris Jacobs. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the show today.
Yes. Chris, it's really nice having you on the program this morning.
Well, it's a pleasure also to have me and to also have you girls, alongside me. Well, a lot of happenings in the country, and first of all, the world commemorated World Habitat Day yesterday, which is most importantly, regarding housing, shelter, because that is one fundamental challenge that third world countries have been facing before now. Shelter. If you're able to, what is obtainable in other climes, of course, we see where the government of other countries take housing issue as a priority, ensuring that most of the citizens, if not all, have a place to lay their head. But I understand that, effort have been made, not just by federal government, but of course private institutions, private sector. It's all about PPP, get it into the sector so that at the end of it, at least a greater majority of Nigerians will have their houses of their own.
I really support what you said because when you look at it, housing is a very, very vital thing because if you don't have a good accommodation or you don't have a good place to stay, you are prone to illness and your brain don't work well because you don't have that good rest. You don't have good sleep as well. And it's a very, very vital issue that needs to be looked into proactively.
Yeah.
Yes, also just to agree with you on that. And even when you have a place to stay and maybe it's not conducive enough, that can also pose as a challenge. And coming to our country, Nigeria here, I know housing is an issue. Most people think it's not really serious, but it's actually very serious, especially in the Federal Capital Territory, the issue of housing deficit and a lot go the slum areas, underdevelopment, and the rising hikes of prices, which we've been talking about, so on and so forth. And I'm glad that the World Habitat Day is here to, throw more light on this particular issue.
That's right.
But before we delve in and begin the discussion proper, let's just take the charge for this morning. And when we return, we shall be looking at the World Habitat Day 2025. This is still Good Morning Africa on Housing TV Africa. Stay with us.
All right, you are welcome. This is Simon and Samantha saying you can make it. I love you and thank you for always tuning into this program. And I want to let you know that God has a plan for your life. And I tell you, life will not give you what you deserve. Life will give you what you demand. You can make it today. Well, I started, if you have been following us, I started a long time and we're talking about life can only be understood backward, but must be lived forward. And one of the things I was talking about, the things we need to learn. With things we need to learn. And if you learn them, apply them, you will get the best of life. It was Isaac Newton that said, if I have seen above, it by shining on the shoulder of them that have gone ahead of me. You learn. Every day we learn from different things. So even spending time and you are looking at us on this broadcast tonight or today, you are learning. And I tell you something, we must just learn in life if we want to have the best of life. The next thing I will be sharing with you in this aspect of learning that we have taken upon ourselves to share with us, learn that is not, the one I want to talk about today is that learn that you should learn to depend upon your own life. Don't wish to be like other people. Life is not competition. Like I said, life is turn by turn. Just know that it will get to your turn. It doesn't matter what is happening. God will get to your turn. And there's a place that said it will overturn until it comes to the one which right it is. It will overturn it. Now, another thing I want us to learn, you should learn to know, not to depend on other people. Always learn to be self-dependent. Many times, a lot of disappointment comes from where you put your trust in people. A lot of people have often complained, oh, you thought this one will do. You are always thinking that this one will do for you. No, you just learn to be self-sufficient. Learn to be dependent on yourself. Trust God with what you have. Yes, people can help you, but don't put your hope in humans. They that trust them, those that put their trust in men, we habit the pasture in the wilderness. They will not see when good cometh. So don't put your confidence in man. Believe men, but don't put your confidence in him, because the people you actually trust can forget. They can actually forget you. I remember there's this young man many years ago that was interpreting dream, and he interpreted the dream of this man, and God helped the man, and the man was out of prison. But when the man had left, he forgot. Men will always forget. Men will forget. And many times God will set them up to also forget. Because you put your trust in man, you will get offended. They will forget. So it is also God that make them remember. So the best thing is to trust God. Believe man, trust God. Don't forget what I'm saying. Believe in man, but put your trust in God. If you put your trust in God, God is the only one that will not disappoint you. Always have to stand. Don't be, don't always have to stand on what you believe, and just continue, and I tell you, you will not be disappointed. Learn to be content with what you have. Learn to be content with what you have. It is said that godliness with contentment is great gain. Learn to be content with what you have. Contentment will make you get the best. Aspire for a greater thing, but be content with what you have. Be happy. Thank God for what you have. A lot of people today, they are not grateful because they are always looking at other people. Oh, this person have just done this. Oh, this person have just done this. But what about the things that God is doing with your life? Learn to be content. Learn to talk to yourself. Learn to thank God about what God has made available for you. Learn to appreciate him for the things that he has done in your life. Learn to appreciate him for the children you have. This same thing that you have that you are not happy about is what somebody is believing God for and trusting God for. For example, there are people today, they are not married, but you that are married, you don't have value for your marriage. There are people today, they are married, but they don't have children. But some have children, they neglect their children. You can see our children on our streets holding some plate and begging. Now, these are same people, they are paying huge amount of money for IVF so that they can have a child. Learn to appreciate what you have. But when you constantly look out and you are not appreciative of what you have, you will neglect, and at the end of the day, it will lead to regret. Learn to appreciate, be content with such as you have. Learn that everybody is equal. Don't wish to be like other people. God does not make mistake in creating you. Listen to me. Don't bother to begin to look like, want to be like this, you want to be like that. No. Want to be all that God has made you to be. And as you do that, you will know that there's a plan of God concerning your life. You are unique. You are a special species. God have created you with all that he has. And I want to let you know, learn to appreciate that who God has made you to be. You are a man of value, and I want to tell you, learn that every action there is an equal opportunity response. Every action you take, there is an equal response to it. So when you take action, always know that there is going to be a consequence. Learn not to worry much, because worry will not solve any problem. Worry does not solve any problem. You see, somebody that worry is like what faith is. When you have faith, you trust God and believe on. When you worry, you have disbelief and you can't move on. Worry make you sweat. Even when you are not running, you are just a rocket chair, you are not making any progress. So learn not to worry. Be careful for nothing. And one of the things that will make you not to worry is learn to think positively. There is a book I wrote some years ago, Living Positive in a Negative World. Every time around you see negative news, negative this, negative that, and everything that surrounds us sound negative. But I want to tell you something. Don't worry. I let you know, worry cannot solve any problem. Worry cannot solve any problem. It is very important. So one of the ways to avert worry is to think positively. And what I will advise you today is that learn to think well. Think positively. Think of what is good. Think of what is lovely. Think of what is of good report. Think on good things. Take good thought. Be deliberate about your thought. Don't dwell on the things that you don't have. Don't dwell on those things that push you down. Don't dwell on the things that make you have depression. You know, it's this worry that make people to, and most of the things we worry about never come to pass. And most times it's the thing that, this worry that make people go into committing suicide. Worry that make people, you already form a picture, the enemy already give you a picture in your mind. Oh, people will shame you, this is what is going to happen. I remember a young girl that worry and kill herself just last month here. Why? Commit suicide because a lecturer will always fail her. I tell you something, those obstacles that the enemy has put on your way, they can become a stepping stone. I like this thing, the Bible verse that always say, all things work together for good to them that love God and to them that are called according to his purpose. I want to let you know today, you can make it. Put worry aside. Worry does not help anybody. Worry will make you depressed. Worry will not bring out the best. Learn to put words into action. It's very important. Learn to put words into action, because a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Learn. Don't stop worrying. Put your word, put action to your word. A lot of us, we take note, we hear, you are listening to me right now, you are hearing, you don't act on it. And until you act on it, you are like a man that doctor said, if you eat this food, you will not die. And they told you have just 3 minutes to live, or 5 or 10 minutes or 15 minutes to live. But they gave you food and said, eat this food now and you will not die. You say, oh, I believe that if I eat this food, I will not die. I tell you something, the food can be in your front. If you don't eat it within the time stipulated, you can die, even with everything to help you in front. That is how worry is. Let's cast away worry. Let's believe God and trust him for the best of our life. It doesn't matter the economic situation we find ourselves today. I tell you something, no matter the economy of the jungle, lion does not eat grass. I tell you, lion doesn't eat grass, and I want to tell you, know, you can make it, you can succeed. Always know the word impossibility is not part of God's plan. It doesn't matter. That word impossible is just impossible to you, but with God, all things are possible. Let's drop away worry today. And one last word I will want to tell you this month, this day before I leave the studio, is the worst a prison in this, the word prison in this world is a home without peace. So as much as you can, live in peace with all men, with your wife, your husband, with your colleagues in your office. Live in peace. The worst prison in this world is a home or a place of work without peace. Be careful who you marry. You know, be careful who you marry. All fail, you know, before you fall in love. All failed marriage start from not understanding how you love to, you know, dwell together with wisdom and knowledge. So be careful. The worst prison in this world is a place where there is no peace. I want to say we love you, and until I see you again in our next edition, this is Simon and Semota saying, you can make it. God bless you. Thank you for being a part of this edition.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Good Morning Africa here on Housing TV Africa, your flagship program from the day, and it is always a pleasure to break the day with you on the station. And just like every other day, we bring to you a very interesting topic today. And just before then, we hope you're able to get something for the chat. So today we are going to be throwing more light or delving into the area of the World Habitat Day 2025. But before we begin, just a little background on what this celebration or this initiative is all about. So the World Habitat Day was established by the United Nations in 1985 and first celebrated in 1986 in Nairobi, Kenya. The day serves to remind the world of the importance of adequate housing and the need for sustainable urban development. It emphasizes that everyone has the right to a decent place to live and encourages global awareness of housing issues, urbanization challenges, and the responsibilities of individuals and communities in shaping their environment. I really like the aims of this of this particular celebration, if I may put it that way because it has stated a lot of things. He said everyone has the right to a decent place to live. That is really a strong message because as a human being, as someone, as a Nigerian, or let's just say as a human being, you need somewhere to lay your head.
Absolutely.
And lay your head, and because as a human being, if you're not able to have somewhere to stay or a decent housing, just like we've said earlier, you're not able to function properly in the
Absolutely.
society.
Because if it's one of the basic needs of a man, clothing, food, and shelter.
Yes.
And shelter becomes very critical in this regard, because in a society where people do not have a place to lay their head, it breeds criminality, because there's this displeasure from within that becomes so much competitive in such a way where that infuriation triggers another level of vexation, because someone will say, okay, I've been with you since daybreak, we've been together, now you left me because you have a place to lay your head. I don't have a place to lay my head.
Yes.
You begin to think otherwise, and by that it becomes very a breeding ground.
And very
Yeah,
frustrating.
that's
And
right.
it affects the mental health of an individual. I had a friend, and the person was staying in a place where he was having an issue of flooding in his home. And just imagine that kind of state. You're in that kind of place at every point during the raining period, your house is getting flooded. Then there was also, he also had the experience of, okay, the soccerways, and during the rainy season, you see that's the time it begins to leak all that, and just from his window, he was uncomfortable in that particular kind of situation. So at that moment, he's not able to think. Even when he's at work, he will have to think about, okay, if I go home now, I have to go and face all this. You're not able to live comfortably. Then also think about the health implications of this. He may be reacting to skin infections, lungs, respiratory infections, and all that. So
if we're talking about the toilet, we are looking at the architectural aspect, where the planners have to build a good structure. Now, aside them having a home, you need a comfortable place. So what we're looking at a home entirely. We'll first look at, can you afford a place of your own? Then we'll look into making it more comfortable. But I see it as they both working hand in hand.
Yeah.
Now they will say no place like home.
no place
sure,
like home.
sure.
No
And
place
very
like
true.
home, and that goes with your health, your mental health, your stability. There is this courage you have anytime you're coming out of your own place. There is this boldness.
Absolutely.
You go to your work free of mind. You're like, after work, you're rushing to get back to your
I
own
want to go to
comfortable
my
zone.
house.
And most people,
And it mustn't necessarily be a luxury house, but of
yes,
course let
exactly.
it
Just a
be
small
comfortable.
A comfortable space where you can lay your head and your
Just
mental
have your
health.
peace
And
of
most
mind.
people, they feel comfortable working at home. But imagine you don't have a place to lay your head, and after work there you still have some carryover works that you need to go home and do it. It makes the workspace not really okay.
That's right.
Yeah, it affects your workload.
And even your delivery.
Yes.
Part of the prelude of the introduction, you read earlier. I like a very significant word used there, that owning a house is a right.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not a privilege.
It's a right.
It's a right, and it is a right of every citizen, at least, to have an affordable and a comfortable house, where you can lay your head on. And before you continue, let me just have this extract from here. As a matter of fact, Nigeria, is estimated to having about 28 million deficit in terms of housing unit.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there is still more to do.
There is more to
28
do.
million is not just a joke. It's also another greater majority of the percentage of the population of Nigeria.
And one of the things that will make it more risky these days is the crisis and the herders and farmer clash. Now, if you go to some other states and communities, a lot of people have flee their hometowns.
Like Benin State.
Most, if you see people, some people here in Abuja, they are here not because they want to be here. It's because of this farmer header crisis. They came here, they find at least they get a land and they are doing
That's
their
right.
farming activities. And it's also affecting the economic seriously because these people leaving their homes, they come to the city. How would they start? Getting a home is something very very hard, and you cannot just do it suddenly because it requires fund. Now you discovered most of some uncompleted buildings are being occupied,
Yeah.
and you see them paying rents for these uncompleted buildings, and you discover some people sleeping under bridges, and they have landlords because they have nowhere else to go. Now the government, let's say the IDP camps provided by the government is not enough to accommodate
It cannot
most
contain all of
these
these
people.
persons who have been displaced by certain crises
So
and incursion.
one of the things that I think they should look into to help cover up this housing challenges is the insecurity aspect of insecurity. Because if the insecurity is being looked into and their communities are safe, I believe majority of them will go back. So once they go back, there is still more enough space to accommodate some of the people who are here. And I will tell you, some of them don't have families as it stands, so they don't have anywhere to go. So if insecurity is being checked in our country today, I believe it will solve, let's say, 10% of the housing crisis we have.
Absolutely.
Just to add to one of the things that may be causing the issue of housing deficit, for me, I'll feel like I feel like maybe one of the things that may be causing it, most especially in the issue of when it comes to issue of urbanization.
That's
you see
correct.
people moving,
Yeah.
relocating from one state to another and
That's
everything. And some people might say they are looking for greener pastures.
That's it.
And in that way, I feel it may also
Yeah.
cause that counting because you're moving to this particular
It's
place.
already densely populated
Yes,
because
yes.
almost everybody is
Moving
urbanizing.
there.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you hardly can see someone complain in the village that he has no place to lay his head.
That is it.
You hardly can see that.
And they are welcoming. They are these like they are already prepared.
It's true.
And when you
you.
find yourself there,
Yeah,
there
it's
is
a bit-
always a place
The,
for
the
you.
level of hospitality in the village setting is commendable, higher than what is obtainable in the city center, like what we see here in Abuja. So, like Doc has said, it's critical to note that urbanization also is another causative factor that we see all these deficit in terms of housing becomes something to worry about. So the question now, what is the way forward? What should the government be doing? There has to be a proper planning,
Yeah.
first of all. I know that there are unforeseen circumstances, like the crisis that brewed in Benue State that displaced, thousands, hundreds of people, to this part of the country. But apart from the crisis, government should be proactive, not just reactional. Because most of the time, if people are displaced, that's when you begin to see government say, oh, let's erect IDP camp for them, let's do it. This is reactional. They have to be proactive, ensuring that people have these places to lay their heads. Because these are essential need of man, housing, clothing, and food. But two are very important and significant to note. That is food and shelter. I wouldn't mind so much if I only have one shirt, but at least let me have a place to lay my
Exactly.
head, and also let me have something to eat when I go to bed, before I go to bed. So these are very critical, and the government has to properly plan the life of its citizens.
Okay, before we look at the challenge, how the government will address this issue, we'll look at another challenges this urbanization causes,
Yeah.
which is the climate change aspect of it. Because urbanization has caused, let's say, climate change in terms of flooding, in terms of the ozone layer, because there is no circulation of we don't experience ventilation.
Depleting ozone layer.
Exactly.
As a result of the activities of man.
Yes. So you discover some areas you have to deforest, you have to unplant trees to put a structure there.
Yes.
for a building.
Just to get a space.
Just to get a space.
Um,
Deforest, and you
most
are not planting that tree in the next 5 years. But the policy of deforestation is after cutting down the tree, you plant another tree.
Yes.
To make sure that to make sure that the ozone layers
Yeah,
it's
that's
very
right.
and the
Absolutely.
weather condition is very very
Greenhouse, that's what we talk about now. You know,
Exactly.
greenhouse. But like you said, they're looking for a space to build. So by they have to fell the trees in order to get a space to erect
I think
structure.
this is where proper planning
Proper planning
comes in, because
yeah.
just look at it. If government is to say, if the government or the authorities in charge of town planning and all that are to say that, okay, at this particular kind of areas, you don't build, you don't sell out that space. Maybe a forest, a kind of area that is maybe forestry,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
sell it out as land or
Douglas, let me
anything
cut
to
you
anyone.
short. Because
Or
let me cut you short. I understand what you're saying. You're looking at parks, but aside the parks, there are some areas in if you want to raise up an estate, you don't need too much space to create that green environment, but ensure that there are little spaces for trees to be there. You understand? Because what you're saying, I think you're looking at where you allow to a park or a plantation.
not even a plug, but we have areas like that, because just like, because these areas that we have in our country, which there are trees and everything, just being there and all that, they are contributing to the climate, the ozone layer and everything. So coming, most times we begin to see that these places are being sold out to people, and just like you said, they are trying to build houses there, and in the process they cut down these trees. So in turn, when these trees are being cut down, they are causing a depletion in
Yeah, the ozone.
in the ozone layer. So those trees are there for a purpose. I'm of the opinion that if these places are being kept like sacred, like they are not touched, because they are there for a purpose. They are not touched. We know the fact that yes, if you want to create an estate, you need a particular space for that, but there are certain areas that should not be touched. They should be left there because they are there
Absolutely.
for a purpose.
And
Now, because
Yeah.
this thing you're talking about is not just those sacred areas, but after erecting a structure, what else did you do to ensure that there is a tree there? That is another thing we'll have to look into, because you cannot just cut down a tree, build up your structure, and expect it to be bare like that.
Absolutely. And looking at the population growth in the urban centers, the urban cities, you also understand that it is not only the felling of trees that depletes the ozone layer, the accumulation of carbon monoxide. You understand? There are vehicular movement because it becomes densely populated by those who have decided to live where they were before to urban cities, whether in search of good greener pasture, like we said earlier, or perhaps displaced by certain crisis. So the accumulation of the carbon monoxide also depletes the ozone layer.
The fumes from
Yes, fumes from generator, cars, because it's a busy city, it's a city, and you expect a lot of cars, to be plying the road. So that also is something very critical to note, that this can also serve as a factor for this crisis in terms of, housing deficit.
Exactly.
All right, so now let's move on to the theme for this particular celebration for this year. But before we take that particular discussion and begin to talk more on it, let's go on a quick break and listen to this particular information concerning the World Habitat Day. And when we come back, the program will continue. Stay tuned. Welcome back. This is still Good Morning Africa here on Housing TV Africa, and we have been analyzing and discussing the World Habitat Day. So right now we are moving to the theme for this year's celebration, and the theme is Urban Crisis Response, which shows how cities are facing challenges and the need for stronger planning. It also emphasizes how cities are affected by multiple crises like climate change and conflict, and it calls for resilient crisis-ready urban planning. So, Lucy, what's your impression about this particular theme for this year?
Well, for me, the theme is a good one, is a strong one, and the theme, it covers every area regarding the Habitat for Day. And when you talk of the resilience, it's high time we put, it's high time more efforts is being put into resilient homes, building resilient homes, because the reason why I say this is it stand the test of time.
That's correct.
Resilient homes stand the test of time, and it helps in the climate change aspect as well. The resilient homes make use of natural resources we have. Yes, it may be easy to get those because we some of these things used for resilient homes are waste, are the things we call waste. You see people using the rice husk and the sawdust for building. They use them as building materials. You see those PET bottles, they are being used as building materials. We have the bamboo stick,
Absolutely.
are very good
Yeah.
for building materials.
Yeah.
So if more efforts are put into this thing, it will really help a lot and go a very long way.
And in addition to that, of course, we have this agency, Standard Organization of Nigeria,
Yeah.
who is started with the responsibility of checkmating fake and counterfeit, substandard materials, whether in building sector or in any other sector. So if this organization, becomes up to speed, checkmating those who build using substandard materials, I think we'll be able to erect houses that will stand the test of time. Houses that will confront the climate and yet still standing. Because one of the problems we've had even before now is that the houses are erected, but the engineers before now, not all of them do, think critically that, okay, the world is changing and building techniques, there is this evolution in building techniques, to fit into the climatic change that has caused all this global warming, and as well as reducing the texture, of these materials that have been used in erecting these buildings.
And now another thing is before erecting any building, there is another critical thing some people fail to take note of, is the soil, the type of soil you are.
And soil
you
texture.
are- yes,
There should
you
be
are building.
a topography,
Exactly.
There is this group of engineering that also do what they call soil test.
And soil testing.
Yeah.
They deal with soils and they know the particular soil and how and the kind of building structure you have on that place. You cannot go to a particular soil and erect a building of a 3-story building. It won't work that way.
Yeah.
One day you wake up and it go down the soil, and you don't build on drainages. You check the soil. If some areas, if you know this area is a flood prone areas, there is every need for you to leave that area or put in more effort to make sure that what you are building there or the building materials you are using there or the foundation you are laying does not affect the building in the nearest future. You build ahead, you don't build at the moment. Yes, because if we say we will overlook flood prone areas, I'm telling you, now till tomorrow Nigerians will not listen and the world will not listen, because everybody wants a space.
Some places that experience flooding in recent times, I've never experienced that before. But if you also listen to Nigeria Meteorological Agency, their prediction about certain areas that will be flooded, not only those who are living at the river bank, a lot of people who have never experienced flooding before has had the experience now. So these are other things that builders and town planners should project into, looking at whether, okay, futuristically, that if we build these houses here, how safe are we that flooding will not come sweep these houses anytime soon?
Yes, I'm talking about flooding. I'm even glad you brought it up, because we could see that the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, even called on cooperation and collaboration
Yeah.
for on
And
flood
that's the
resilient
one
measures.
reason why
Yes,
he
and
raises topic.
I remember we had a guest who even spoke about the fact that Lagos is living on a ticking time bomb when
Yeah,
it comes to
yeah.
flood, because it's very, number one, it's congested. Then we have people, buying lands in places like Banana Island that are very much flood prone. So for me, I'm very happy that this particular thing is talking about a lot of issues and is looking at the urban areas.
And since it's overpopulated,
Yes.
how they dispose their waste is another thing.
It's another thing.
Most of the dumps, most of the waste they dispose in the sewages, they dispose in the waterways. So how do
And
you
it blocks water channels. Whoever thought that Lekki would be flooded? As a beautiful city, whoever thought that it would be flooded? But because of activities of men, and coupled with a change in terms of climatic condition, and that is the effect of global warming. But thanks to other private organizations that are, joining hands with the government to see that at least Nigerians, the housing deficit of 28 million units, the gap might be bridged anytime soon.
Now, looking at that, how soon do you think the gap might be bridged? Because if you look at the price tag on this house,
That is why it should be affordable. Not just
Because we talk about housing deficit. Sorry to interrupt. We talk about housing deficit, and it brings me to the question, because here in the FCT, for me as a person, I feel like here in the FCT we don't have an issue of housing deficit. I like to think like that sometimes, because we have a lot.
Maybe because you've not been to the slum.
We have a lot of houses that are empty.
Yeah.
They are empty. No one is staying there.
so how
They're not
can
being
you
sold,
get
but
them
they are
to be
just
occupied?
expensive.
They're expensive. That is
We're
the
complaining about the housing.
the
That is
the
What we should be
affordability.
complaining about is affordability at this moment.
Yeah.
Make those places affordable. And if those places are made affordable, you see that people would not, because the reasons why nobody is buying those houses and are going to the slums, and it's beginning to look like we're having
That
housing
is why
deficits,
I
because those ones are
raise this
expensive.
point now. How can a common man, okay, the Renewed Hope housing scheme, though if you look at the prices, they are outrageous. A civil servant who is earning, whose minimum wage is below 100,000, like, how will he be able to save enough to pay for a comfortable 2-bedroom for him and his family? Because
How much is the salary?
That's
A low income
thing.
civil servant.
And you're seeing homes of 2.5
That is the thing, because
Yeah.
definitely in that salary you have other bills to settle. You have your food, you have the school fees of the children, you have the clothing, you have your transportation fare, definitely, and you have medical bills there as well, because definitely one or two you might have headache, not just you but the children.
Let's even keep that aside. Okay, you've gotten the house. How do you furnish it? That's another expense no one is looking at. How is it furnished? You pay that amount of money for that house, but how is it furnished? You sleep on the you sleep on the floor. It's very
To me, that is not really a big challenge, though. It's getting the house. That is the main thing.
Getting the house at an affordable price.
As affordable price, exactly.
Whether it is rentals or you want to buy the house, you want to own a house. And I think there is this policy before now, like it is known as owners occupiers basis, but it has to be for the low income earners. The more you pay the rent monthly, they might tell you, okay, if you're able to pay this rent monthly for like 5 years or thereabout, it becomes yours. Now it depends on how much you collect on a monthly as a monthly salary, and of course, we are living in Africa, typical African tradition. You're not just living for yourself alone. You have extended families.
Exactly.
Friends and families as well. And sometimes even your wife relatives, will still rely on you. So it is just too complex, and the complexity is all encompassing. But the value chain here is what I'm glad that is coming on board. The value chain, despite these challenges, of course, there is this ongoing national initiative designed to improve housing accessibility and affordability, and this includes the help to buy, rent to own, and real estate investment fund programs, as well as mortgage refinance company, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, and family homes. These initiatives are commendable and show that progress is possible.
But how effective are these policies? That is the thing. That is the thing. Yes, it's good to have them on papers. It's good to have them. It's good to have them being listed out.
In as much
But
as we are
how
asking the question of
effective
how
and
effective,
how
are
will
they
they
even,
reach the common man?
are they actually functional at the moment? That's what we should be asking.
That is the question.
Oh,
That is the
they are
question.
just on paper. Are they actually, are they people who are benefiting from
Even
this?
if they are functional at the moment, these are private organizations. They are profit makers. They want to make profit as well. So even if they help if they're in collaboration with the federal government to either erect houses that it will be affordable for low income earners, they will definitely have to make money. The interest is what they are looking at. They are businessmen. So what do you expect? If you don't have the money, how do you get the house? No matter how cheap it is.
With all those challenges listed, we just hope that Nigeria becomes a better place, and the Tinubu renewed hope agenda, which is targeting the housing affordability in Nigeria, comes to a reality and meets the common man well. So, Dorcas,
Yes.
what do you have to say?
Well, I'm just, for me, I just hope that on this day when we celebrate the World Habitat Day, and just like the theme has said, it urban crisis response, and I think we need, like, by Nigeria is in a state of, the Nigerian housing sector is in a state of emergency, which
That's
needs
right.
rapid response. So we are urging and calling on the government to, come to the housing sector and do something about, number one, the affordability of homes, and issue of insecurity, to reduce things like housing deficit, and maybe even I'd like to think if the economy is worked on, we'll be able to tackle some issues in the housing sector also. That's my take for this particular.
Of course. My take is that the government should be proactive, not just being reactional when it comes to issue of housing deficit, but proactive. Think deeply and have these critical thinking, that enhance futuristic and visionary plans for the teeming, growing population of Nigeria. Yeah.
All right, so till we come your way again with another episode, this is where we draw the curtain here on Good Morning Africa, here on Housing TV Africa. My name is Dorcas Chia. Keep watching the program.
And I'm Chris Jacobs. Enjoy the rest of your day.
And that's the much we can take on Good Morning Africa, this particular episode. To watch this episode again and for all subsequent episode, you can follow us on Housing TV Africa. You can follow us on all our social media handles, Housing TV Africa. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Housing TV Africa, and as well download the Housing TV app on your Google Play Store and Apple Store. Many thanks. I remain Mimi Tondo. Bye for now.